Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw Review.
Welcome, everybody, to the W2M RAW review for August 29th, 2016. And here we are, ready to talk some Monday Night Raw. Some big things happened. A champion was crowned in this episode. We're going to get into all that and more. And, hey, just to let everybody know, the way to find us, anytime you want to find us, go to the W2M network. It's very easy. One click, and you can get all the podcasts we do. Not only do we do a Raw review, we do a SmackDown review as well. So, man, maybe you're a fan of SmackDown Live, and you just, man, I really would like to hear that. Go check us out. We're on that. Plus, we do a regular Wrestling to the Max episode, Part 1 and Part 2. They're both on the download for you guys every Tuesday morning and, of course, Friday morning for you guys. So, yeah, go check out the W2M Network. Go check us out there and a lot of other great shows. But now it's time to talk some Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and this week's Monday Night Raw, not too far from you guys over there. About 4 hours away in Houston, Texas, and SmackDown that Paul and I will be talking about on Tuesday is in Dallas. So, you know, surprised you guys aren't wanting to go or something.
I would mind going, but I'm saving up for a trip.
I understand that. Well, plus I think when they first announced that was before the brand split, so you didn't know who was going to be on the show. And
that was pretty much it. It's SmackDown. Whatever.
Although now I kind of wish I was going just to see The Miz yell in Daniel Bryan's face again.
Yeah, they get to deal with that confrontation when we get to it. But, there was plenty to talk about on this edition of Raw, honestly. Of course, they were building up to the big title coronation, the big title coronation match, which was all of a sudden changed on the pre-show to elimination match. It was not a Fatal 4-Way. I'm glad somebody figured out that they just had Fatal 4-Ways not too long ago. So that's nice that they did this. And so they start out with a little talking segment to sort of promote that, get everybody clued in. And to me, Kevin Owens was sort of the star of this. He kind of made fun of the concept initially, and then he rolled with it. Everybody got a little bit of a moment here, and then went into a scuffle, as you would expect. I mean, what'd you think of this little opening segment to start the show?
Not bad. I mean, it was okay. Like you said, Kevin Owens was kind of the guy in this, and I like Kevin Owens a lot. So it was very easy to get through. At times, I was just kind of like, all right, let's get this thing done. But at the most part, Kevin Owens is pretty entertaining. So I didn't hate it. It was good.
I love that he was like, "Oh, you want us to be all nice to each other? This is not what this is." Okay, like, oh. That was great, and then he called out everybody. I loved it.
Yeah, it was definitely something that, if you're a big Kevin Owens fan, once again, you're going to love this. And if you're not, you're probably going to be like, I wish, Seth Rollins would have got more time, or why didn't Big Cass get to say, how you doing 5 times? That didn't happen, really. It was more about the Kevin Owens show.
Also, sorry.
Go ahead, John. No, you're good.
Damn it. I forgot my at least they didn't have Roman talk, which is good, and the Corey Graves I thought didn't sort of make it about him either, so that was good too.
Mm-hmm.
I think the nice thing from everything I'm reading is that this was short. It was under 10 minutes. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, that's also.
Totally true. I mean, they tend to drag these things on, especially the opening segment. So I totally agree. That was the nice part about it being short.
Oh, that was what the Kevin Owens. Basically, all he does is put his hand and laugh when he's about to talk about Roman and the crowd boos. Like, it's just is he actually laughs at the fact that the crowd is booing, almost like, "Ha! Look at this!" Just it's great, and I love the fact too that the crowd, he was sort of downplaying Big Cass, and then the crowd gets really into the "how you doing" and everything, and it sort of like surprises them, like, "Oh man, okay, they're really behind Big Cass here." So they, aside from that, they have little hype videos for all the guys, which I thought was a nice touch. Some of them are sort of them saying things we've heard them say before, but it's still good that each one of them got their little time. Rollins gets a little backstage segment with Stephanie where he kind of promises that they're all going to party again, and it's going to be like old times, and this is going to be their biggest moment and everything. And then you get to the match. And boy, was there a lot going on in this match. They tried to hype up the Battle of the Big Men. When you had 4 people in there, I didn't think that worked out so well every time they tried to do it. Once Cass got eliminated, there was a lot more organization going on. You still had, it's still a very much like a, very triple threat rules. If somebody goes out, we're gonna wrestle. This 2-man duel is gonna go on, and I think you only had one triple spot where you had the Tower of Doom once, and then of course you have the big, great TV moment with Triple H coming out and pedigreeing not only Roman Reigns, but also Seth Rollins, and basically giving Kevin Owens the WWE Universal Champion. Kevin Owens is the champion. We all wanted it. We got it. How do you feel about how it was done?
At first I wasn't sure what to think because, we had a pretty decent match to start out. Big Cass is the first one eliminated. It wasn't too big of a surprise. Being kind of the odd man out when it comes to people kind of understanding that this guy's a part of a tag team. He is a main player at this moment, but at the same time, the 3 other guys have been stars and big stars on this show. So you definitely see these guys moving on. The fact that these guys, false finishes several times between each other, between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and of course Kevin Owens. So I got that. That was kind of a stalemate for a little while, but it was enjoyable for the most part. I really did, like it. I like the fact that, man, I just honestly kept waiting on the edge of my seat. Okay, who's going to finally get the pin on Rollins, or is Kevin Owens going to be pinned next? So saying all that, I mean, I thought it was pretty well done. I hated Roman Reigns, the Superman punch fest. I mean, I think that's a little overdone, especially in watching this. I get it; it's his thing. Man, I felt like I was watching somebody play in, WWE 2K17, just because that's the only move they knew how to do on the game was Superman punch.
Yeah, it's like he saved up a bunch of finishers and just spanned them all at once. Like every counter was Superman punch. I mean, they look cool, except for the Owens one. That kind of looked weird, but
yeah,
it looked cool, but it was just kind of like, man, is he really limited, or they just really want this move to get over?
Yeah, exactly, and that was my biggest problem. To me, in this situation, less is more. Roman Reigns, understand that Superman punch is special. You're knocking guys out with that. Don't just come in here and use it, because now it looks like it's not very powerful. I don't worry about Superman punch anymore because he just used it 15 times and no one got counted 3 for it. So going past that, I mean, I think the Triple H thing was a big surprise. I was wondering where they were going. The Roman Reigns thing is no surprise. They have a history. When it got to the Seth Rollins part, I was a little bit more shocked. I was kind of like, oh, wow, are we going to see babyface Seth Rollins? Is where this is going? I don't know. But what's cool about this is, at the end of the day, Triple H has got Kevin Owens' hand raised, and he, of course, he wins this Universal title. And I'm excited for Kevin Owens. Is it going to be kind of, funny to see that his first Universal Championship is by, Triple H helping him? No, not really. It's not a big deal. He's a heel. So I think it all worked out in the end, and I actually like this finale.
I think when you look at the booking of all of this is really smart, because ultimately the goal for Raw since the brand split has been to make new stars. They did it with Finn, running up through the tournament. He wins the big match at SummerSlam. You have a new guy to work with. They kept that ideal strong here with Kevin Owens going on. I really like that, and it helps set up a lot going forward now too. Not only with Triple H aligning with Kevin Owens, because now you can have some tension between the dudes who are running the show and Stephanie and Mick with Triple H, but you can also have Seth to work with. It opens it up for Reigns to turn heel, which is really cool because that's something that they should probably explore. And then Kevin Owens is a guy can carry promos, he can carry matches. He is the guy you want in that top spot. So I can't speak highly enough of how well this is a smart move in the wake of Finn's injury.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like they read my mind of what some of the things I wanted to happen to take place, and that's what made me feel good about this. It really did, kind of like what you're saying there, Paul. I mean, a lot of these things we've been thinking could happen, and now that seeing that they're a big possibility, it makes you put a smile on your face if you kind of think the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, we already know what Kevin Owens can do. It's terrific, and you also don't. You sort of took a chance with Finn. I don't think if Finn's a different guy. You sort of know he's already carried a promotion. Whatever, yeah, sure, NXT is not making money for WWE, but it is obviously making the people that watch the network happy, and that's a big deal. With Cass, it's still that he needs Enzo right now in order for him to work completely. They're both half of each other, so I think that doesn't necessarily work in the same way that you want to just take the total shot in the dark with Cass and let's see what happens from there. Kevin Owens is an established guy. Houston was totally up for him, and I think when you go in certain parts of the country, it's going to be awesome. He's going to get even bigger reactions. But the thing is, Triple H, out of nowhere here, we haven't seen him since WrestleMania. What do you think this means? Like, he gave Stephanie and Mick this sort of look like, I don't give a shit. This is what I'm doing.
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. Like I said, it creates tension between them, and that's ultimately what I think you're going for. And whether it's Triple H sort of starting his own little splinter faction here or something like that, which I think could be very interesting to follow, or it's just him making a power play or whatever, it's going to be something to keep your eyes on. And, it kind of sucks that it has to be Triple H to create this much buzz around a brand, but you got to go with what you got, right? Because you're still trying to make these guys matter.
Gary, are you worried that this could become more about Triple H than about Kevin Owens?
I kind of do. That's my biggest fear. Usually we save Triple H for, we just pass SummerSlam, but that's kind of a moment you would see Triple H. WrestleMania is a definite time when you would see Triple H. And what I mean by that, it isn't a major role. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get in the ring for all of this, so it could be fine. But when I look at this is, people are going to be focused on how this is going to affect everybody else. I mean, sure, Kevin Owens is going to hold the title and it's going to look great, but I think a lot of the focus, even for me, a Kevin Owens fan, is going to be paying more attention to what's Triple H doing. Why is he doing this? How does it affect Stephanie? We already know how it's affecting Mick. Where do we go from here? Things like that. So I look at it as it could be a distraction, because of that reason. But on the other hand, Kevin Owens is a great guy. I think he could maybe take some of that focus away and prove me wrong on that. But I do fear Triple H is going to kind of hog a little bit of the spotlight.
Yeah, you have a lot of heat shifted onto Triple H now going forward. But if anybody is up to the task of making their own mark coming out of this, it's Kevin Owens. It's not like Seth Rollins where he kind of needed the mentorship of Triple H and all that to sort of start striking out on his own. Kevin Owens has already been doing that. And he's had feuds that have, gone sort of well for him to put him at least in that position of being a bigger guy on the roster. But I just think when you look at him, he is a complete package already, and just sticking him with Triple H will help elevate him and ultimately help him strike out on his own once he reaches the level that they want him to be at.
Mm-hmm. Is there a possibility that, like Gary sort of mentioned before, are we doing the Rollins Triple H feud that we didn't get to do for WrestleMania, and we're going with face Rollins, or do you think this was just... I honestly, like you guys said, Triple H can be making a power play. Like, could they have face Triple H just deciding, okay, this is the guy that I wanted to win, and not the guy that's been the champ before, the guy that's obviously not working. Sort of saying, okay, this is the direction that I want to take it in, sort of like what you mentioned, Paul. Or do you think that they did try to, maybe see what happens with if Raw? Do you think that they got the reaction that they wanted with Kevin Owens getting the "You Deserve It" chance at the end and getting this big, huge face pop instead of people booing the fact that this is what happened?
What do you think, Gary? You watched this?
Well, for me personally, I look at this and I think, there will be a little bit of concern for that whole "you deserve it" thing, because really this is the guy you're kind of saying, hey, the heel faction loves you. Of course you're a heel already, so the evil corporation wins again, and with everybody loving it, it's kind of sent some mixed signals. But WB tends to ignore those things. They tend to kind of play by their own rules, so I don't think that's going to be a hindrance in this whole situation. I definitely don't think we're going to see face Triple H. This is all about him. I really feel like even Stephanie, with her being dumbfounded about this whole thing, I think it's going to come down to him explaining why he thinks this should have happened. I don't think it's going to cause a major rift between him and Stephanie, but I think it's going to cause a situation where Stephanie doesn't agree with him completely, and you're going to have Mick Foley having that power struggle with Triple H and Stephanie stuck in the middle, which is going to be kind of interesting, actually. I kind of like that. I kind of like that dynamic. But, when it comes to the fans and all that, they're going to react how they're going to react. WB is just going to play by their own rules, so I don't worry about that reaction.
I don't think they're worried about that reaction either. Honestly, what this is what it hopefully should be. It's face Seth Rollins, heel Kevin Owens, and that's where you're going with this, because there's so many easy ways for Triple H to explain exactly why he did what he did. Seth gets injured, Seth loses the championship, he proves that he's not the guy he thinks he is, and now he's going with somebody who thinks he can be that guy in Kevin Owens. It's an easy storyline that works really well into their wheelhouse right now, what they're trying to do, that plays off of reality, that lets them sort of take snippets of what they want and put it into stories.
Yeah, you're right. And, what I'm kind of looking at this whole thing, too, I'm saying, this is a big deal because of the reason there was such a big backlash with the title, look, and all that stuff. There was so much negativity aimed towards the Raw brand. And I think this is a way, and maybe not hot-shotting it, but in a way to do their best to get some of that attention away from the belt itself, to get us some of the attention to... This guy's a fan favorite. Kevin Owens is a guy that people like. It was obvious with the reaction. It's obvious when you look online with the IWC. And I think that, this is just another way for them to find a path to, let's focus on the fact that, we have our own new brand. This is a new title. Let's ignore all the rest. Let's focus on the characters involved. And I think that they did a good job of it, because I don't think anyone tonight was sitting there talking about Kevin Owens holding an ugly belt. I think people were just talking about Kevin Owens, talking about Triple H. That's all they cared about.
I mean, actually, after looking at the belt, it doesn't look so bad. Maybe it's just not having to think about it. Maybe it's just the fact that it's new. I don't really think about the belt so much anymore.
I don't hate it. I don't think it's my favorite looking belt in the world at all. I don't hate it. I still kind of think they could have done a better job. They have so much money they can put into these things. Kind of surprised what they got out of it, but it's their money. They spend it how they wanted to spend it.
Yeah, that's a very true statement there. It's all about how you want to spend your money. So we go from this thing that eventually involves Stephanie and Mick Foley and everything to another segment that had Stephanie front and center here, with Paul Heyman taking a long time to give an apology to Stephanie about the $500 fine and about what Lesnar did to Randy Orton and Shane McMahon on SummerSlam. Heyman brings up all the stuff that Stephanie's eventually going to be the heir, and that she's going to be the one that has to answer to the boardroom and all this other stuff, and eventually just for him to say, "I'm sorry." Um, I thought this was okay. I mean, it's you get Paul being Paul and Stephanie being Stephanie. And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. And, when you're talking about Paul being Paul, Paul Heyman is one of the best talkers in wrestling, just period. Maybe even outside of wrestling. This guy is just totally amazing. But saying all that, you know what you're getting out of him. You got what you got out of him tonight, which is great. I loved the him counting out the money in dollar bills, counting down $500. That was hilarious. I laughed. Heck, I even pointed it out to my wife, who isn't a wrestling fan. This is hilarious. You got to see this. And saying that, I think what you got out of this is, Brock Lesnar, we all know, is very brash. Doesn't care what anybody thinks. Paul Heyman kind of exudes that because of his client. And it does take a long time, but in the end, he does kind of bow down to Stephanie McMahon a little bit while throwing insults. He still throws insults at her. At the end of the day, though, he does the apology, and she accepts it because he throws insults, but then he kisses her butt at the same time. And the insult that I thought was interesting on my part, maybe it's controversial, but him saying that, she was part of, this whole women's thing. I can't remember exactly the phrasing. Basically downplaying her as a woman in the industry, being professional and successful, and she basically says that she is a part of the women's revolution. That's what it's called. She's the face and all this kind of stuff. I did not really agree with all that. I think they trying to push Stephanie too hard on that. We all, from my perspective, that whole thing was built by hardworking wrestlers who were not a part of this company. They were all indie wrestlers coming in and making it important, and that was the beginning of it. I kind of hate that Stephanie gets thrown in there just to throw her in there. I kind of feel like it's, hey, I'm popular too. I make money.
Well, she might have started the conversation backstage. We don't know that.
That's true. We don't know that, but we know her husband is a big player in that. And, they are a couple, but I just think that Triple H is maybe a bigger part of that. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, at the end of the day, this was a good segment. It was kind of funny. At the end kind of fell flat for me, though, just because he was kissing up and all that, and she just kind of says, "I accept," drops mic, gone.
Like, we've seen this before, right? I mean, maybe not him counting out dollar bills to Stephanie or anything like that, but we've seen this sort of write-off for Lesnar before. It's nothing big. It is what it is. That's fine. I mean, the interesting part will be if they decide to play this into SmackDown, with Shane maybe having a retort about how fake this all seemed. Like, it's just them sort of playing face to, we got to do something, and here it is.
Yeah, that's very true as well. And that Stephanie seemed to be okay with the whole, Brock brings something, so we're going to give him a little bit of pass. But what do you bring to sort of, you're going to be the punishment, but really not. It's sort of just, let's give you the slap on the wrist and whatever. I think they do need to have Shane address it, or it kind of falls flat a little bit because they had Shane address it on SmackDown last week. Even if it is just a little promo again, just like what he did last week, I think that would help in regards to letting us know a little bit more about what they're doing here. So we get away from the figureheads and start talking more about the wrestlers again here. Another sort of story is, last week Bayley debuted on Raw. So this week she goes around backstage. She's hugging people. She's doing her Bayley thing. And she finds the New Day, and she is ecstatic and cannot believe that she has found the New Day, and the New Day are happy to see her, and they sing for her. They sing the "Hey, we want some Bayley" song, and then of course here comes Dana Brooke. She has to ruin it, and eventually it leads to having to I don't know why I'm going through somebody's microphone, or was. Yeah, she has to, eventually Dana comes in and sort of says, well, Bayley, you don't deserve to be here. You're never going to do anything because of that. And so New Day bring up the fact that she's lost to her already, and then they tie in Gallus and Anderson into this. So a good way to tie in two feuds. We get a 6-person mixed tag. We also get a little. Gallus and Anderson have now changed occupations. They are now retirement home specialists. So you know who you go to if you're going to die. Go to Gallus and Anderson, and then of course you have Nurse Dana Brooke there as well. Who, man, I'm going to be honest. She looked pretty hot with the nurse outfit coming out to the ring actually. But Amber Gallus not too happy about this. She kind of started a little Twitter war with Dana on over there. She might be starting an angle for herself, but she's like, man, I'm going to kill a bitch. Not playing around there. But yeah. So what do you think about all this stuff with? Again, did you like Gary, the new job for Gallus Anderson? Is it any less funny, more funny? And what did you think of the match and all that?
You know what? I don't think it's any less funny. I mean, it's kind of hokey, but that's what these guys go for. They're kind of hokey themselves, and they make fun of things. And I think it actually worked out just fine. I'm an approving of this, I guess you'd say. But at the end of the day, what really matters is what we get out of the results of maybe the matches and some of the other things they do. And I think when it came to the match, everybody involved did a good job. Everybody put some good work in, and Bayley does get the pinfall and victory, which is good. And I think it's exciting, and especially for people that love Bayley and the people that don't. This is a great way to see her getting victories, and that gives them a chance to want to follow her, want to understand who she is, and I do want to kind of go back to when she saw the New Day. You guys made it known to me a little bit that maybe I shouldn't expect, old school Bayley where she was enamored by people. I kind of was at a disagreement. I kind of thought that I needed to introduce her like that to get people won over. I agree with you guys now. Watching that, I was a little bit worrisome. I kind of thought, oh, this is kind of not looking great. I don't know if I really want her getting excited, like fanboying out for people. So I think I have to renege on what I said last week about that. But on the other hand, it wasn't bad or anything.
You got a little mix of both there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually good because, again, like you said, Gary, and this is something I said when I was, on the other show, is that you do need to introduce. There are people that do not know who Bayley is, even if the crowds all seem to know who Bayley is. There are people who don't know who she is, and so if you introduce a little bit of her first character with the character she has now, it's not bad. It's just you can't totally reset her either.
Right.
So I think they did the best of both worlds that they could, Paul.
I agree with you completely, and I think what they did right here with Bayley so far is they've let her seem pretty strong coming in. I mean, granted, Dana Brooks, pretty bottom of the totem pole right now as far as the women's division goes on Raw, but they're letting Bayley build momentum. They're letting her show her character. The live crowds they picked so far, or that have showed up, have been way into her. So, I mean, it's looking up for Bayley. This might be one of the better NXT call-ups we've ever seen before.
And, I thought Charlotte on commentary was actually, she didn't interject much, Gary, but she added.
Yeah, you're right. She did. And I really liked what she did here. I think she did a good job. And, there's those moments when you kind of think, oh man, this person has not been on commentary a whole lot. They're going to mess up. But for the most part, I really enjoyed her commentary on this. So I think she did a good job.
And I enjoyed the match. I thought it built well to the Bayley getting the big hot tag and people wanting Bayley to come in and everything. But once again, Gallus Anderson looks secondary here. They did not. New Day got a ton of offense, and normally you don't see the faces get so much offense. A lot of times it's the heels, doing the face and peril thing and all that stuff. It felt like New Day were almost dominant here.
Yeah, it did feel like that. And, I kind of chopped it up to this is just a way to make people happy, kind of a situation. maybe the next time that they have a planned bout between these two teams, it's going to be ugly again, where maybe Gallows and Anderson are dominant. So I kind of thought this was just a way to make the people happy in Houston, get the crowd excited about not only New Day, but Bailey. It was just kind of a fun thing. That's what the theme was kind of with this whole thing.
I think the WWE wants to be very careful and very deliberate about how they're building Bailey. And unfortunately, I think Luke and Gallus, Gallus and Anderson sort of fall on the wrong side of the fence here. Even though they rightly deserve a run, Bailey is involved. And when you have Bailey involved, and especially considering what a breakout star she can be for them, not only just in the women's division, but for the company as a whole, there's no way you have, them look like they're much, right now, of course. I mean, because Bailey's still new and you got to treat her right and all this other things. So you can make the stars line up as best you can for when she finally gets the big moments. But I mean, we've talked a lot about how they booked Gallus and Anderson on this show, and they continue to I don't want to say undersell them, but they can maybe undervalue is a good word, because they're all on the New Day train right now, and rightfully so. The guys have been a breakout for them, so. But they're fun, but they every good guy is measured by their bad guys, and no matter what you're talking about in entertainment, and if they don't have good heel teams to work with, then we're just having fun here.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that, and I really do hope that Gallows and Anderson get their opportunity to be the hot team. It's understandable what New Day is. It totally is. They sell merchandise. They're a fun group. I love New Day, but hopefully, Gallows and Anderson will get their shot to really shine eventually.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, I think certainly, Vince is getting his kicks out of them with the funny stuff, but at least they're on TV, and they are getting to show personality that way. So that's better than them just being the Gallus and Anderson from New Japan here in WWE, like they were when they first came. So, it kind of stinks that they don't have a much bigger role, but I think that's coming. It might be like Paul said, they're just secondary right now again. Then aside from this, and Sasha Banks did get a little promo on the pre-show where she said she's going to be different Sasha Banks than what you've seen when she comes back to face Charlotte. So that's kind of what started this whole thing as well, to have Charlotte be out there. The other sort of main story that we have going in here that's not sort of filler things that we've had is the Cesaro and Sheamus best of 7, which Sheamus leads 1-0, and they each got little promos here. I thought Cesaro did really well in his promo. He's starting to understand this thing of needing to have crowd interaction, and so he's doing this stuff in his promos now, like where he says, "Oh, nobody likes Sheamus," and then by the time he got to the end, the whole crowd was chanting, "No!" And he's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna carry his weight around and around and around," so that again ties into the swing thing. And Sheamus, I thought, cut a good promo in the ring where he highlighted the difference between him and Cesaro. Like, Cesaro's a wrestler. I am more about being entertainment, and I've been in movies, and I'm just better than Cesaro. And then you have the match, and again, it's very good. The spot that they have be the ending, ouch. Poor Cesaro, that did not look good, where his back body drop onto the pole there, and then Sheamus wins, adding in another little story layer so that when you have match 3, there's a body part now that hurts and that you can be worked on and everything. I'm really liking the way they're doing this so far. So for me, both matches have been at least very good, or good to very good, and we have a story that continues through this, Gary.
Yeah, we do, and you know what? I mean, from what you were talking about, I appreciated all of that. I really did, and I think Cesaro and Sheamus both, weren't boring. I think they gave enough information and got enough heat behind it to, make you want to watch this match. And At the end of the day, they had a pretty solid match. I appreciated that. I like that. And for the most part, you really thought that, Cesaro may get his comeuppance here, but no. Sheamus finds the way to win, and he's up 2-0, and actually makes the story even better from my point of view. So I thought this was good. I think all that surrounded it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean they're going with the way that I prefer to see these best of 7 series go, where the babyface is dug into a hole and now he's hurt, which is a nice touch. And I think what really works about this is that when and Cesaro does come out on top of this, he's getting to do it in both a way that allows him to build character and show off what he's really great at, which is wrestling. So hopefully WWE has a way to demonstrate and springboard him to the next level after this, because you already got to be looking at that right now.
Yeah, and they did make it official tonight that you do get a Universal title opportunity, whoever wins. So, nice, good stakes there for whoever wins as well, which is good.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was kind of surprised they didn't already announce that earlier. But this, at least they're getting it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of what we kind of saw on Raw was 2 squashes with Nia and Braun Strowman. We get Nia with a local talent from Houston, Hyan. Didn't do a whole lot. And Braun, again, getting to do his thing. And Sami Zayn basically squashing Jinder Mahal, I guess, to sort of have him, look good or look better than he has after he lost. I still think that both him and Neville are destined for the Cruiserweight division because they're both doing nothing. Neville loses to Jericho in actually a really good match here with Jericho. Neville got to do a lot. Jericho pins him after he does a Rana and he reverses into the Lion Tamer, so Jericho looks strong here. I don't know what we're building to with Jericho, perhaps something with Owens, but what else did we have? Oh, well, and we have more of the Titus O'Neil and Darren Young thing, with Darren Young getting a sort of fluke win, which I did not like this at all. Darren Young should not win until he gets the big win. The whole point of this is not to make it seem like another middling feud for Darren Young. You're trying to make Darren Young great. Have him be that guy that Titus O'Neil just beats the crap out of him. And he did that in this match. They had that really cool spot where he goes over the ropes and the crowd actually paid attention for that one spot. And then you still haven't beat up Bob Backlund, which is where you're getting the boos. Like, for me, just having Young win this way and then have Titus immediately get his heat back, like, it does nothing. Like, what are you doing with this? Have a plan, and I feel like there's another way to do this that might have been better. But as far as sort of the rest of Raw, what do you think?
The squashes, you expect them, Nia, Jax, and of course, Braun Strowman makes sense. Even, what you were talking about, Sami Zayn. And I was not surprised, with a little bit of surprise. I thought Neville would go over on Jericho. But, no big deal there once again. It's not like this is a giant feud or anything, so it doesn't really matter at this moment. But what I will say is, you're right on the Darren Young thing. I think that, we got to find a reason to really care about this, right? And right now, the only motivation to even care about this feud is these guys were tag team partners, and one's a bad guy now, taking out his tag team partner, and it just kind of seems unfair. I get where their point of view on it is because they say if Darren Young gets cheap wins to beat Titus O'Neil, that fuels the fire for Titus O'Neil to still come back and beat up Bob Backlund. If he keeps winning, he can kind of lose interest. Why go back after him? But on the other hand, your point, I think it makes Darren Young chase Titus O'Neil, not Titus O'Neil chase Darren Young. So that's also another good thing. And, I think it makes a lot more sense to have Darren Young as that fly that annoys the crap out of Titus O'Neil. And, of course, Bob Backlund, I think, can annoy anybody. So that would be a very good inspiration for Titus O'Neil and, of course, Darren Young to have a big match. I think it's kind of a bummer that Darren Young is getting cheap wins, but at the end of the day, I don't even know if Darren Young is going to beat him when they have a big match.
I don't either. I don't know where this feud goes because it's been received so poorly, and unfortunately, Young and O'Neal and Backlund have done very little to make you care. Not only because the writing and the booking for it has been poor, but because of their performance and promos where they need the time to make you care, they just haven't delivered. And so when you get to these matches, they don't do anything for you because there's no reason to care. The squashes, I mean, Strowman and Nia Jax, they're building them up for something, for whatever it happens to be, is to be determined. I mean, Nia is obvious, but Strowman is just squashing people seemingly to do it. And I think the really interesting note to have here is that the night that Kevin Owens wins the Universal Championship, both Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho get themselves on winning ways. There's an obvious story to do with Jericho and Kevin Owens, obviously, with the tag partner things, and suddenly somebody gets jealous. Jericho, because he's not in the limelight anymore in this team, it's Kevin Owens now. And Sami Zayn has that big win. He still can hang that big win over Kevin Owens, and WWE needs to acknowledge that sooner rather than later, and maybe letting Sami build up some steam again is the right way to go here, and an easy first step over Jinder Mahal. But I think that's the interesting part about Jericho and Sami Zayn getting wins here. Maybe not for long term, but for short term, but for long term, certainly. I think it's going to play into this story going into Raw next week and forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. I like your thought process on that, and it just means that this is something we can look back on, and that build to Sami Zayn, if they do that sooner than later, or even later, it's going to be exciting because of this build. So,
yeah, we just got to give a rating for Raw.
Well, looking at this Raw, I didn't necessarily hate it at all. I kind of enjoyed it for the most part. I think they had some good matches. Even some of the segments were not boring. They were entertaining. I kind of felt like the Fatal 4-Way was exciting. So, if we're giving halves, I think I'll go 7.5. I don't think it deserved an 8, but I think 7.5 would be a good rating for me.
I'm going to go with a 7. I think apparently they are talking about, I wonder if this is Cesaro sort of selling. I forgot to mention that Cesaro has made a tweet about he didn't know if he's going to be able to work out for the rest of the week. And I think people are maybe reading into it a little bit, but there's now reports Cesaro might be injured. Hopefully that's not the case. But, yeah, I'm going to go with a 7. I think everything here, the filler stuff was kept short so that you could accentuate everything else that you wanted to here. That the title stuff got some big time. The women, it was jammed into another feud, but still you got to highlight both feuds, I thought. And Cesaro and Sheamus got time. So, and you had all at least good to very good, and you had the great match at the end to sort of highlight what the Universal title means. So, for me, very good Raw, and possibly the best one since the first one at the brand split.
I don't know if this reads as well as that first one after the brand split, and this is an episode I definitely need to go back and watch, but this reads like a 7 to me. It's above average. It seems quite good going head to foot. I mean, a lot of people are reading the main event was a really good match, and then I'm always down for Sheamus and Cesaro beating each other up for 10 minutes, and everything else seems to play off really well here, so happy to actually be watching Raw this week.
Yeah, it's worth watching. Yeah, finally. So there you go, guys. That is our Raw review for this week. We appreciate everybody who's joined us this week. Of course, if you want to go find out some other information about the world of wrestling, come join us for part 1 of Wrestling to the Max this week. That'll be episode 210. We are looking forward to doing that, and of course, we'll be doing the SmackDown Live review. That'll be on Tuesday, tomorrow. And of course, if you're listening to this on the download, or maybe just watching this on Tuesday tonight. And of course, we also have part 2 of W2M that'll be on Friday morning for you to download. So you guys need to go check those things out. Of course, the W2M network. Once again, go subscribe if you're not subscribed. Lots of great podcasts, lots of wrestling, lots of football, video games, just everything under the sun for you guys to go enjoy. Go check it out. So besides that, we are out of here, and we will catch you guys down the road. So for myself, for Paul, and Sean, if you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Please.
Later.